Hey guys, we've got this 2016 LP610 Huracan in my favourite colour, the Verde mantis. This is special. Why? Because it's twin turbo already, stage 1 plus package, full flex fuel capabilities. It makes 1150 wheel horsepower and it's gone 9-0 at 162 mile an hour on an unprepped surface, Cootamundra Airport. Tastefully spec'd. It's been lowered with KW springs, sleeve kit, and it runs the Boost Logic 18-inch wheel package with a radial tyre all round, giving that extra grip where required. And I mean, the car just sort of shows itself when it runs 9-0, 162 mile an hour multiple times with a female driving that's never driven the car. It sort of proves that the car can be driven by anyone. It runs a stainless steel exhaust, not titanium option. It is basically our off-the-shelf cookie cutter stage 1 plus package. And yeah, it's just, if you haven't been in one of these cars yet, you really need to have a go. This one's actually for sale at the moment, or the whole reason for it being for sale is the fact that we purchased it knowing full well what we're going to do. And we've had many customers that end up coming here talking about doing a package who haven't even bought a car yet. So this sort of saves that time, that wait time. Motec ECUs are like 3, 4, 6, 7 months out, and we managed to put in all our orders early and make sure that we've got stock so that we can offer cars ready to go. Instead of having to buy a car, find a car, it's ready to go. The rear wheels are beadlock, nice and subtle. You can tell they're beadlock, but they don't look illegal, which is really cool. The front wheels are non-beadlock, make the wheel look slightly larger, which suits that Lambo look, not the Honda Civic look. But hey, if you're into Honda Civics and you want to go fast, this is the car to get. Definitely car to get. I don't know if you've watched Cootamundra Drag Battle, but I'm pretty sure this race is Civic and all-wheel drive, and Amy killed it. Interior is immaculate. Car's got 10,000 Ks and the interior shows for it. The system runs our inner chiller package, which is included on every twin turbo system that we do, which chills the water down to sub-0 degrees, which runs through the intercoolers. Keep that intake air temp really cool. AC is unaffected, so the aircon system works well. It truly is like a daily car. We have many people that have done this package with us. Every person that has got one all comment on how it's exceeded their expectations. I'm going to show you the engine bay. I'm going to pop the hood, how factory everything looks, and you will not notice any modifications at all, which is great for the person that wants to go unnoticed but noticed. Unnoticed but noticed. Stock officer. Unlike other turbo systems on the market, traditionally they ruin the car. We pride ourselves in not ruining the car at all. There's no holes drilled, there's nothing that can be unreversible. The front trunk, front boot space is untouched, unmolested. It's like factory. We don't run lines to the front. We don't have water tanks in the front. It's just not what we do. We don't treat them like an old barn find car. They're a $500,000 car. And yeah, so basically as you see, it looks like an untouched car. The difference is when you start it, you've got those turbo sounds. Sounds amazing with the V10. Twin turbo, you cannot beat it. And the performance to match, like nothing else can perform like that, especially at that kind of cost in a supercar. So I'm going to take you for a drive. Let's give you those sounds. So on first glance, essentially you've got a factory Huracan. Yes, it runs the Motec ECU. It's fully integrated. It works with the factory systems. And the factory systems assume or can see that it's essentially got a factory ECU in there, but it doesn't. There's no engine lights or codes or anything like that. So but basically with the Motec, we're tricking all of the other systems to still function as per factory. So dash display is all the same. We can use certain things on the dash to display which maps we're in, which I'll go through shortly. With this car, it only has Strata, Sport and Corsa in terms of performance modes, which does change boost levels and torque limits in per gear. In Corsa, we use that for racing. But if you want to drop the boost or torque level because your missus is driving or whoever knows, you can go into Sport or Strata. On a car that has cruise control, which is very rare in the Huracan, it's an option that's rarely ticked. We can use the cruise control buttons to change map position. I guess that's one of the cool things about an Audi R8 comes standard with cruise. So every Audi R8 that we do, we can give you up to 9 maps and all controllable from the steering wheel, and the tacho displays which map number you're on. So that's pretty cool. But all the gauges that you see here are all factory, and the cluster itself shows all the factory items, no different to a factory car. We'll warm her up and take this thing out for a bit of a cruise, show you those different sounds that hopefully you can hear. And just drivability, like that's the main thing. Like that's the part that we really judge a car, not based on its performance. You can sort of get any car to run silly numbers, but then you're turning into a bit of a race car. And the whole point of this is to have a street car that is doing numbers of a race car. And that's what makes them just unbelievably good. And hey, it's not easy. It's taken a lot of R&D. We've been on this platform now since 2018. So we started things started a year prior, but we've spent a solid 5 years already on the platform. It's been a good long road, but things are definitely showing. This car has a front lift system for driveways that lifts up the front end, get about 40 millimeters of extra height in the front, especially with a lowered car that's sort of required. But hey, it's a factory option, which is awesome and must-needed option for Australian roads. This car was selected with the reverse camera and sensor option, which is cool for an everyday car. Every time I buy a brand new Lambo, I never select it just because I don't drive it that often. So why do I need to spend an extra 7 grand or whatever it is for a reverse camera? They call me tight. I say it's sensible. So it's super cold. It's on E85, that cold start that you've seen. They start fine on E85, 98, any mix in between, it's up to you. Now I get to see a lot of Huracans, right? This year model, 2014, 2015, 17, all the way up. When we first looked at this car, the major part of it was condition for the year model. I mean, it's reflected by the kilometres. It's now got 11,500. We purchased it at about 9,000 Ks, but it's just immaculate. Like, interior is immaculate. I know people expect that of a supercar. It should be kept well, but the amount of cars that we see that have been flogged, the interior is disgusting. This car does not reflect that. No knocks and clunks with suspension, it's tight. So it's a good reflection on how the car's been kept and the little driving that it's had. I feel like it's been garaged most of its life, all of its life. We're gonna head to the service station because we've got like a quarter of a tank whilst we're on a drive, might as well fill it. We'll go to the servo, throw some E85 in it. I can even show you how we can check the ethanol content at the service station, and it shows it on the factory cluster. And I'll show you the process of that. Pretty cool feature. This car just drives like factory. It's amazing. Like, I mean, you can tell just by how smooth the shifts are. And things are still cold on ethanol, and it drives so smooth. It's worth noting that when it did go to Kudo, it was driven there and back 4.5 hours each way. Love juice. We call it pump fuel still because it is from the pump. The 85 107 octane, straight out of the pump. Whenever you see a Huracan and it's got this sticker on the side here in this window, it's like our signature spot for a Huracan. You know you're in trouble. That's how you know you're in trouble. And the R8 is like the side skirt. If it's got on the side skirt, you're in trouble. It's not a stock R8. Okay, so we're in strata mode at the moment. As soon as we flick down on the switch over here on the steering wheel, we go into sport. It says on the dash sport, and then we go to Corsa. When it's in Corsa, the idle comes up, gives you that more of a race feeling. The idle changes. It says Corsa on the steering wheel. When in Corsa and you're in gear, stationary, if we press and hold the manual button here, the factory manual button, the tacho displays the ethanol content. So 85%. If I let go, it goes away. So that's how you know your ethanol content. So we've got full ethanol, we're gonna have full power, anything over about 60-odd%. With this car, we're gonna have full power. If we're under that, then it's gonna start pulling boost out, pulling ignition timing out, and whatnot. But anything over about 60-65%, you're not really gonna lose any power. So traditionally, you know, any other model car, you'd have like a dial that you'd change boost settings, or and you can use that to also display different settings on a dash, like, or ethanol content, things like that. With this car, the way the Motec package has been integrated, it uses all the factory buttons, and we use all those to do different things in different scenarios, this being one of them, showing ethanol content. It's a major. So just warm this engine up and warm up the tyres, because there's nothing worse than trying to put down 1150 wheel horsepower on cold tyres. It's not going to go well. So we always tell everybody that runs a car like this, make sure you're doing sort of 20 minutes of driving before you give it any hits. I mean, it's normal for any sort of fast car that you can't go out in cold tyres. I mean, even a factory Huracan, if you go out in cold tyres and put your foot down, especially if it's around a corner, you're going to be sideways for sure. Go and triple or quadruple the horsepower at the wheels, it won't end up well. Lucky I've got a private racetrack at hand. We use it for our vehicle testing. What do you say to that every single time? There's nothing better. Just the sounds, even like, I mean, I don't know how well these mics are picking things up, but just makes you want to drive fast all the time. Amazing car. And to do, what, 9 zeros consistently at 162 mile an hour on a car that you can drive daily. I know a lot of race cars that can't get that and drive like really, really bad. All right, that's it. I tell you what, driving these things does not get old. They just blow my mind every single time. It's worth mentioning that when you give it a hit, when you're wide open throttle, even in manual mode, that we set up the ECU to do all the shifting. It's nearly impossible to shift this thing bang on the right time every single time, especially if you start making serious horsepower. Even at 1150 wheel horsepower, you're not going to shift it on time. You're going to hit the limiter. I mean, I've seen people hit the limiter on factory cars. It's a must. So we set up the ECU to do all the shifting. All you have to do is worry about holding it straight, keep your foot down, and it'll shift at the right points in every single gear to get the maximum power down to the ground and go as fast as possible. You know, when it comes to race day, that you're going to be super, super efficient. And that is why Amy was able to go, you know, in 3 runs that she'd done, she'd never driven a fast car in her life. The first time driving the car was at Cuda, and first time putting her foot down was at Cuda. She was able to go 9.016 and she'd done 3 9.0s, all within like 100th of a second. It just shows that when you set up a car and it's controlled solely electronically, that the car just does it over and over and doesn't change. Tank's full. If anyone wants to go for a test drive, because they potentially want to get in the market with one of these absolutely amazing machines, let us know. Car's ready to go. We do have different options for exhaust and engineering options as well. If they want to have it mod plated, it does come at additional cost, but that's part of our packages as well that we do offer. And that's a wrap.